So in this video, we're going to talk about 4 different ways that you can make real money playing Pokemon. My name is Tristan Goodwin. I am the owner of Underdog's Factory. We are a YouTube marketing agency, company, consultant thing geared for gamers. And so what we want to talk about today is how you can actually make real money playing different video games. And the first video game we're going to talk about is Pokemon. So, believe this or not, you can actually make real money playing Pokemon. So free market economies are typically driven by supply and demand. And so what we're going to be looking at is we're going to look at ways that money is actually coming into the system, and then what services and products the people who are obtaining that money are then purchasing from other people. Okay? So I think probably the best place to start when we're talking about this is going to be the professional Pokemon player. So like the tournaments, contestants, and that kind of thing. Now, we actually decided just to get really into the research with this, we sponsored the Pokemon tournament. And we're going to show you like the final battle here on screen just so you guys can check that out. But it's really interesting. So what you do is you have very high skill leveled players who then come and they compete against each other in order to see who can win, whoever has the best team. And then there are other companies who will come in and actually support or sponsor that tournament. And then typically they'll want to do that for some sort of promotion, some sort of an advertisement, or some other form of recognition that they can receive, which will eventually lead to, improving their branding or improving their marketing so they can make more money down the road. Which is one of the reasons that I did this. First, I just thought it was cool and I wanted to make a video about it, but also, I'm getting a shout out of it. So I'm going to see if this channel grows anything from this particular sponsorship. And what's really interesting about this, especially with Pokemon, is that the real life economy is actually very similar to the Pokemon in-game economy, where it's primarily driven by tournaments, by large competitions between high skilled players. And so in the game, we have things like the Elite Four, which is the big championship. It's the big tournament in order to determine who the best Pokemon player is. Where in real life, we have things like VGC tournaments or something similar, where again, we're bringing in some of the top players to compete against each other, and whoever wins gets some sort of a monetary prize. Now, what's interesting about this, again, when we're talking about the economies and supply and demand, there are other businesses or there are other professions that have stood up around being a professional Pokemon trainer. For example, did you know that on eBay, you can go and you can buy professionally built Pokemon teams? So yeah, you can be a professional Pokemon farm owner, breeder thing like Brock. So what happens is these trainers go out and they will capture, trade, whatever, they will obtain Pokemon with specific stats that are able to fit into specific competitive teams. And then what they'll do is they will train that Pokemon up to a level where it becomes competitive. Now you're probably thinking, well, you could just sit there and feed it like rare candies all day. No! You have to worry about things like IVs and EVs and move sets and items and natures and hidden abilities and all this other stuff. There's a lot of other things that go into training of a competitive Pokemon team that you don't get just by normally playing the game. It takes a significant amount of work and a significant amount of time in order to reach these really high levels and have these really highly trained Pokemon. And so there are people who are able to sit down and to go through this process, who are able to train these Pokemon, and then they can sell them to tournament players, right? Because they don't want to spend all that time sitting there training these Pokemon or like hatching 100 eggs until you get a Pokemon with the right egg move and the right nature and all this other stuff. So it's faster and more efficient for them to just go and to purchase the Pokemon from these suppliers as compared to doing the work themselves. We actually have a lot of the same thing happen in business in real life. Why do we buy food at the grocery store? We can all go out and plant, most of us can go out and plant tomatoes in our backyard, but there's a lot of extra work involved with that. And so instead we hire a farmer to go out and grow a lot of tomatoes and grow really high quality tomatoes, because my tomatoes here in my house kind of suck. And so that person is able to hyper specialize in that specific skill set of growing tomatoes. And then we're able to pay them $1 per tomato, 50 cents per tomato. And so we save a lot of time and energy. We're able to hyper specialize in our own tasks while the farmer is able to specialize in growing tomatoes. Same thing happens in Pokemon. The third profession is also closely related to tournament gameplay, and that is the Pokemon coach. So what we're talking about here is people who have reached that high level of gameplay and are now able to teach other people to acquire that same skill set. And it's kind of the same setup as what we have with the breeders, right? So you can either spend a long time studying and learning all the different Pokemon, all the different movesets, how they interact with each other, synergies and counter picks and all that kind of stuff. Or you can hire somebody who already has all that knowledge, and they can teach you those most important things, those most valuable elements that you need in order to quickly increase your level. So what does that business actually look at? And then these guys, the next folks, are actually the people who make the most money out of this entire thing. But we're talking about things like Wolfie VCG, or my new favorite channel, Nathan Hates Chicken, where they talk about how these high-level synergies and these high-level strategies work together in order to improve your gameplay. I'll give you a real-life example. I love Pokemon ROM hacks. I am obsessed with them. I just think they're fun, okay? A ROM hack is basically like a hacked version, a modified version of a game. And there's one I've been playing called Pokemon Radical Red. And it was not an easy game. I've probably spent about 3 or 4 months trying to beat the game. And it's because prior to playing the game, I've always been kind of a casual player, right? I never really learned a lot about EV spreads, or like, paid a lot of attention to natures or hidden abilities or EVs or any of that other stuff. But in order to beat this game, you kind of have to do that. And so since I wasn't good at it, since I didn't know how to do these things, I went to YouTube. And that's when I started finding all these really interesting YouTubers who were creating content about how to play Pokemon at a higher skill level. So again, Nathan Hates Chicken, Wolfie VCG, who else am I watching a lot of? I really like Zwigo, I really like Madrybread, who kind of talk about some of the similar things. It's not quite the same. But, they explore like some of the more in-depth aspects of individual Pokemon and how the teams fit together and everything. And so after about a month or 2 of research and just really trying to learn more about the in-depth parts of the game, I was able to beat it. I beat Pokemon Radical Red without cheating. I'm so proud of myself. These guys are real-life Pokemon educators. They're real-life Pokemon coaches. They teach you how to be better at Pokemon. It's really, really interesting. Now, the reason I say that these guys can make the most money is just because they have more options as far as monetization, right? So if we talk about tournaments, really your tournament winnings are based off of how well you perform at the tournament. You could win everything, you could win nothing. With the breeders, then you're really dependent on the need that the tournament players, or just lazy people, not lazy, efficient and smart people who recognize that it's faster and easier to just buy a team off of eBay than it is to go and train it themselves. They're still limited to that supply and demand. Now they're able to charge more for individual products. I think a full Pokemon team right now is going for about $15 on eBay. But with these Pokemon coaches, they're able to reach much larger audiences and teach several people at once, as compared to interacting with single events at a time, right? So individual cells, individual tournaments, and that kind of stuff. So you have them on Twitch, you have them on YouTube, you have them on Facebook, and then like people will come and they'll watch that, and then advertisers will buy ad space on those videos, like myself, and then they're able to make money and make a living off of their Pokemon coaching, which is really cool. And finally, one of the other really interesting things about this, at least for me, is again the correlation that we see with real life businesses. Look for life coaches, look for business coaches. They're all over the place, and basically they're doing the exact, I'm doing the exact, oops, I just hit my microphone. I'm doing the exact same thing. Just instead of teaching you how to play Pokemon, I'm teaching you how to play YouTube. So the 3 businesses that we've talked about so far, the Pokemon trainer, the Pokemon breeder, and the Pokemon coach, are all very closely related to the tournament environment, right? The tournament ecosystem. Now, just like any society, just like any group, the economies are going to be split up into different categories. So we're going to have everything here that's kind of closely related to the tournament gameplay. But then at the same time, you're also going to have entertainment. So where do we get entertainment from, within the Pokemon world? Well, that's when we start looking at things like PokeTubers, okay? So people who give you like interesting theories about Pokemon, Pokemon researchers, Pokemon lore experts, Pokemon artists. So people, there's a channel that I absolutely love that makes clay models of Pokemon. And, it's just relaxing to sit there and watch. It's almost like an ASMR kind of thing. Just them making these little Pokemon. It's really neat. And again, these are our Poke entertainers, or your Pokemon professors, or whatever you want to call them, who are teaching you more about Pokemon in general, teaching you more about their history and their lore, or they're showing you some of the more creative things that you can do with it. They're showing you how to draw, how to sculpt, how to paint, all these other different things as far as creating Poke art. Okay, now the part that we were all waiting for, the big reveal. How much money can you actually make playing Pokemon? So we'll start with the tournament players. For Pokemon TCG, the trading card game, if you're able to win first place in the World Championship, you make $25,000. Second place is like $15,000, and it's a lot of money. And then that goes all the way down to ranking within the top 32 players, where those bottom rung folks will still make $1,500 for having participated in the game. For the video game version of the tournament, the champion makes $10,000, which is pretty cool. Now, you wouldn't be able to live off of that for an entire year, at least not here in the US, but if you were to participate in 2 or 3 tournaments a year, and if you're able to rank relatively high, that's a full-time income just from playing Pokemon. Next, we have the breeders. Now, these numbers are a little bit harder to get a hold of just because of the way that they work. But after looking at a few different sellers on eBay and then also looking at search traffic data, I think we can get some interesting ideas and assumptions here. One eBay seller that I was taking a look at, and I don't want to share their stuff here just because I don't want to get in trouble with copyright and that other crap, but they had sold over 1,500 Pokemon teams at $15 a piece. That comes up to $22,500, over the course of a year. That's just about a full-time income. That's just shy of a full-time income of about, $2,000 a month, which is pretty cool. Now, the other thing we can look at when we're talking about this is we can look at search traffic data. Okay, so Google will actually tell us how many times people search for a specific keyword in Google every month and over the course of a year and so on. So things like buying and selling Pokemon gets about 4,000 searches a month. So if you assume that, about 10% of people actually end up purchasing, whatever that is, that's going to be 400 sales per month. And then it's also going to depend like who's ranking at the top of search and getting all that traffic. But assume you're ranking number 1 for the keyword. Assume you're getting 10% of that traffic and 10% is actually converting. So we're looking at about 400 potential sales per month. And again, we're gonna be talking about an average sale of about $15. So that means that you'd be looking at, $6,000 a month? That's not bad. That works out to about $72,000 a year. The median income where I live is 32. So you'd actually be making the equivalent of 2 people working full time here in my area. So pretty cool making some money playing Pokemon and being a Pokemon breeder. Pokemon coaches and the Pokemon entertainers, the artists, right? If we're talking specifically about like the YouTube and Twitch marketplaces or economies, then we can make a couple of more assumptions. And you can use this to kind of figure out how much your favorite YouTuber is actually making off of YouTube. So typically for video game content on YouTube, you're going to make between $3 and $5 per every 1,000 views if you're part of the YouTube partnership program. There are a lot of other ways to monetize your content, and we talk about a lot of that here on this channel, but that's kind of like the primary thing. So if you have a channel like Wolfie VCG, who typically gets around 100,000 views per video, we can assume he's making between $300 and $500 per video. Now, some of the videos get more, some of them get fewer, and then also it's going to depend on the content of the video itself. Sometimes because a channel is big, because the person is famous. Wolfie VCG is actually the world champion of these Pokemon tournaments, and then he also goes out and he coaches people, so he's kind of fitting that double role there. But that means that he's supplementing his Pokemon tournament earnings with Pokemon coaching earnings through YouTube and Twitch. If you upload twice a week, each of those videos gets, $300 in revenue. That means he's going to be making $600 a week, $2,400 a month. It's good money. And again, if you include the $25,000 that he won in his last tournament because he took first place, he's making some pretty good money. That's $50,000, $60,000 just off of his core videos and his core content. Now, if he were to also include things like a paid coaching program where he will sit down and work with you individually, if he were to put together like some sort of a PDF or some sort of a guide that would teach, explain some of these more in-depth concepts, then, sell them for like $1 or something like that. If your targeting is right and if everything else is right, you could probably get about 1% of your audience to purchase that. And so you can imagine if an extra 1% of Wolfie's viewers actually went and purchased this guide, he's got 100,000 views. That means he's going to make 1,000 sales, which means it's an extra $1,000 in his bank account on top of ad revenue, on top of tournament earnings. And that's actually kind of where those Pokemon artists come in as well, and the other PokeTubers, like the educational stuff, the lore stuff. We're looking at kind of about the same numbers. We're looking at the same earnings from the YouTube partnership program. But then again, anything extra that you can add on top of that. So things like merchandise, t-shirts with your favorite Pokemon design on it, or some sort of a funny Pokemon related thing. Those are all going to be extra things that you can include when you are trying to monetize that content. So I think that a safe number between the Pokemon coaches, or just Pokemon YouTubers or Twitch streamers in general, I think it's safe to assume that they're probably making somewhere between $30,000 and $50,000, depending on the size of their channel and how well they're monetized. Which again, not bad. And YouTube monetization is probably one of the easiest ways to make money playing these video games, just because you have so many different options, you have so many different opportunities, and that's one of the reasons I love it so much. That's why I love doing this for a living, because I get to help people make money playing Pokemon, right? That's cool. So that is how to make real money playing Pokemon. Now, before you leave, I have some homework for you. On the community tab of my channel, we're having a survey to see what the next game we're going to talk about and how to actually make money playing that video game. So head over there, look for the top post and the latest survey, vote, and that'll help us determine which video game we're going to talk about next. So hope you guys learned something. Hope you guys feel inspired to go out and play some Pokemon. And most importantly, I hope that you guys are starting to look at work and at providing for yourself or for your family in a different way. You don't have to work the 9 to 5. You don't have to be a slave to the system. You can be a professional Pokemon trainer.